Sonic's latest 3D outing has been a long time coming following the largely negative reception of Sonic Forces roughly 5 years ago. The anticipation of this ambitious change of pace, Sonic Frontiers, has been a roller coaster ride since its initial announcement. Regardless, it's finally here, and despite having provided coverage for the title, I had no idea how I'd feel about it. I'm so indescribably delighted to say that aside from some evident technical hiccups and a couple odd design choices, Sonic Frontiers has stuck the landing, hopefully birthing a new golden age for the Blue Blur's gaming outings.
Okay, we'll keep looking.
Sonic Frontiers begins with Sonic, Tails, and Amy going off to investigate the Chaos Emeralds, appearing in an unexplored region called the Starfall Islands. However, when approaching the lands, sudden havoc strikes, causing the three friends to hurl off into a digital realm known as cyberspace. Regarding narrative, Frontiers is exceptional, being not only the first recently well-told story in the series' gaming library, but one of the best. It gradually elucidates a thought-provoking mystery surrounding an ancient civilization that once seemingly lived on the islands, naturally fitting in with lore previously established in the series. What really strengthens this title's narrative is its character writing, a far cry from what's come before via the likes of Forces, Colors, and Lost World. The cast is noticeably more mature this time around, with their conversations, thoughts, and actions all stemming from a place of hard-fought experience. They no longer depict themselves as tropes or joke machines, instead being true to their core selves that have long been neglected. Quite a dense amount of lore is discussed and referenced as well, painting a clearer picture of canonicity and contrasting the almost wholly self-contained and detached stories from previous games. Big the Cat is found at select spots throughout the island. If the player has enough purple coins on hand, they can fish to get rewards. The minigame is straightforward, perhaps too much so, granting collectible rewards and the like. One of the most notable rewards is Egg Memos, voice logs from Eggman himself. He too is trapped in cyberspace, and these memos detail his thoughts on various matters coursing through his mind. Veteran fans will especially wholeheartedly enjoy these logs because Eggman remarks on settings and characters from older games, some of which have not been mentioned in the longest time. My favorite incorporation of references has to be Sonic casually mentioning friends that aren't seen in the game as he wonders how he's doing. It's blatant fan service, but I can't help loving it since it aids in establishing the world as one that's actually growing and living. The English voice direction is stellar too, with Amy being a particular highlight. Further, I know Roger Craig Smith's portrayal of Sonic isn't exactly a popular one. Personally, I found his acting here to be his best work as Sonic to date. He's notably more natural and less forced with his line deliveries. Plus, the deepness of his voice adds to the maturity seen throughout the title, and it doesn't sacrifice the character's trademark snark. Gameplay-wise, Frontiers marks a crucial turning point for Sonic. Linearity has been chiefly sidelined, with the open zone format now being the pursued path. There were many concerns involving how Sonic would feel to control, but thankfully, while opinions will differ, I had no qualms with how Sonic played here. For the first time since the adventure titles, I truly felt like I was completely in control of his movements, speed, and all. He has staples like Boost, Lightspeed Dash, and the Homing Attack, alongside recent arrivals like the Drop Dash. When utilized wisely, mainly for the lattermost maneuver, neat navigational tricks can be performed to reach destinations in ways unique to each player's approach. Sonic's speed and other related factors can even be customized in the main menu, allowing all players to control Sonic best fitting their respective levels of experience and comfort. Endearing little creatures called Cocos can be found throughout the island, and can be traded into their elder to allow Sonic to enhance his ring capacity and speed. The differences are only noticeable in certain contexts at late levels, but it's a nice conjoined touch. Unfortunately, there are issues regarding exploration, draw distance, and pop-in. The world is full of various mini puzzles and collectibles, but the paths to them can be veiled by objects simply not appearing when they should. For example, rails and springs litter the maps and are necessary to access certain spots, though since they only spawn in once close enough, their sudden appearances can be jarring and distracting, occasionally making areas needlessly cumbersome. Aside from that, exploration is nailed in Frontiers. Based on what I've seen in promotional material, I was concerned about too much automation from rails and springs, but there was enough on-the-fly decision-making with inputs and choosable directions that I rarely found that to be a problem. On the islands, Sonic must find memory tokens correlating to the character trapped there in order to free them, and they're found by doing a bunch of stuff, like doing side loop in certain spots, or by doing puzzles. Speaking of the puzzles, they're a bit too elementary for the first two-thirds of the game, not even granting enough thought to warrant being brain teasers. The endgame provided more involved trials that I wish more of the early game embraced. I'm aware that, especially for an open-world type of game, not every task has to be intricate or complex to impart a sense of achievement. Still, the simplicity of what's presented here is almost a tad insulting at points. Vault keys are another significant collectible Sonic has to find, used for gaining access to each of the Chaos Emeralds. They can be obtained in many ways, like battling particularly potent foes or completing the cyberspace stages. The latter can be understood as Frontiers' take on special stages due to their relative brevity. These levels are throwbacks to Sonic's past, adopting the boost formula across linear areas with a clear end goal. Missions are clearable in each cyberspace too, always involving achieving an S-rank clear time and obtaining all red rings. These levels, as mentioned before, are brief, usually lasting around a minute or two. While some fans may think that's a bit too short, I found their lengths ideal since these are not the main game by any stretch. Instead, they're commemorative side tasks to gain items. Moreover, the following point will highly depend on your perception: Sonic's control in cyberspace. I found it adequate. He never felt stiff or ill-suited to the stage environments, though some practice is needed to get a firm grip on the control style. Strangely, the level themes only comprise of a few types that can get kinda repetitive the longer you play. Due to cyberspace's collective brevity, this wasn't much of a ruiner for me, though greater visual variety would have been appreciated. Regrettably, combat in Sonic Frontiers is where potential feels the most squandered. Sonic has a basic melee combo alongside learnable abilities via a skill tree that grants more options in battles. Sadly, combat is simply too easy no matter what difficulty you play on, and too many of its boons can be spammed with no consequence. The skills are all flashy, boasting mostly terrific animations, yet they lack meaningful substance that endures the whole game. At the very least, a worthwhile base was built here that will hopefully be improved upon in later releases, and I still had a lot of fun with select enemy encounters. Some mini-bosses and standard foes have interesting gimmicks that shake up the combat to keep it fresh. I just wish they required additional thought and another form of management to mitigate spam. Moreover, the attack and defense stats can be upgraded. While only noticeable when comparing at later levels, the provided RPG progression here is appreciated. Thankfully, Frontiers partially makes up for the combat's faults via its island and boss battles. During these crucial story encounters, Sonic transforms into Super Sonic, enacting fights against gargantuan foes that I'm sure younger Sonic fans could only have dreamt of. Admittedly, the mechanics here are shallow, but the bosses are such adrenaline-pumping bouts that I could not care less. I lightly touched on the soundtrack before, yet it deserves honed emphasis. Sonic Frontiers' compositions tend to feel inherently different in approach than what has come before, with a permeating sense of dread coating the islands. They resolutely support this entry's melancholic and almost tragic mood, enhancing the determined tone present this time around. Sonic Frontiers is the most fun I've had with the series in ages. It boasts a fulfilling, exploratory-based gameplay loop bolstered by excellent character writing, a well-thought-out narrative, and much appreciated references to previous games in the franchise. Even amidst the lackluster combat implementation, pop-in, and more minor faults, they don't diminish this title's strengths. I sincerely hope this gameplay and writing style are retained and refined for Sonic's next gaming outings, because an unabashed golden age could be in the works if embraced. Noisy Pixel is giving Sonic Frontiers an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to check out the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.